So the Sixers just played in one of the NBA games of all time and ended up losing to the Portland Trailblazers, hopping back onto their tank despite Andre Drummond going prime Shaquille O'Neal mode, dropping 25 points, 18 rebounds, and tried to get the Sixers a W, but the tank was just too strong, and in the end, the Portland Trailblazers were able to beat the Sixers, and I gotta admit, nothing really happened in this game at all. It was what you would expect out of a night where Andre Drummond was the best player on the floor. Nothing really stood out other than Drummond trying to posterize Donovan Clingan, which was hilarious. I liked how Andre Drummond had such a fire under his stomach this entire night. Really tried to prove himself, especially against Clingan too. Clingan's 7'2", and Drummond was going after him the entire night, getting physical. Tried to posterize him. It didn't work out, but I loved the effort from Andre Drummond, and I also liked how he made a three-pointer at the top of the key. That is right. If you weren't watching the Sixers for this entire season because they suck and decimate your brain cells every time you turn them on the TV, well, I gotta say this. You really missed out on Andre Drummond draining a three-pointer, going from downtown. He took two of them, his confidence, and he shot 50% from three. And Andre Drummond, you don't see that much from him. And if you weren't watching the Sixers, you really missed out on an iconic NBA moment. And yeah, Drummond was amazing. And he really stepped up as the Sixers' fearless tank commander after Tyrese Maxey unfortunately got injured. He tried going for a reverse layup, but got slammed on the hardwood. Ended up getting a back contusion, at least according to the current reports, and the Sixers are going on a traveling back-to-back against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So will this present an opportunity for the organization to finally give Tyrese Maxey some rest? We don't know yet about the severity of his back problems, but to be honest, if I was the Sixers general manager, I would shut everybody down, including Tyrese Maxey. Literally everybody. Just play the rest of the G Leaguers the rest of the year. It makes no sense to be whittling Tyrese Maxey down to the bone with the injury issues that he has been having as well. It's not like Maxey has been completely healthy the entire year. He's been dealing with stuff with his fingers too, and we saw how that happened with Paul George, a.k.a. Pinky P. Tyrese Maxey had to tape his fingers together, and it really showed because he did not have a good performance as well, just like he did for the past couple of games. There was one game where he went 0 for 10 from 3. He's been putting up shots, being confident, but they're just not going in, and the shots don't look good at all, barely hitting rim. Tyrese Maxey has got to sit. He's got to sit against the Timberwolves. It makes no sense why the Sixers keep putting him out there. I don't understand why the Sixers just think that the more they play injured players, the better they think they will get. It's so weird. They're the stupidest organization of all time. They don't know how to read the room. When we wanted them to win earlier in the season, they were getting blown out by 2K-generated players. But when we want them to lose and try and get that top 6 pick, they start playing well, keeping up with these teams, especially in the beginning. The biggest difference between the Sixers way earlier in the season up to now was the way they start games. The Sixers are a lot better at just getting hot early and getting into rhythm. They made 4 threes in the first 5 minutes of the game and had a decent lead against the Blazers until Anfernee Simons, the notorious Sixers killer, just decimated them in the second half. I don't get it, but Anfernee Simons, whenever he plays the 76ers, he transforms into prime Damian Lillard, had 34 points, frying the Sixers the entire second half, and he made a name for himself in the league, cooking the Philadelphia 76ers specifically. But I got to thank Anfernee Simons for keeping up with that mantra as a Sixers killer and not letting them win too much, even though the Sixers did also have some really good contributions from their role players now that I think about it, as they were still able to keep up with the Blazers, at least up until the fourth quarter or so, where Simons really stepped it up a notch and gave the Blazers a really big gap that the Sixers could not come back against. Justin Edwards continues to impress. Although the Sixers are tanking and I want them to lose, I want Justin Edwards to succeed as much as possible because this guy is shaping up to be one of the better role players the Sixers have had in the Joel Embiid / Tyrese Maxey era. Edwards is everything you could ask for in an NBA role player, someone who could stretch the floor, defend at a pretty high level, be athletic, run up and down the court without getting tired, getting the Gatorade cup next to him. My NBA 2K players know that. Justin Edwards, he doesn't get tired. That's the thing, and he just doesn't stop moving. He's always cutting. Has kind of that Kelly Oubre mindset, but unlike Kelly Oubre, Justin Edwards barely gambles on defense and is a lot more disciplined, and that is awesome because he is pretty young himself and had a lot to prove coming into the NBA, but it's awesome to see Justin Edwards really show out on the Sixers and get some playing time from Nick Nurse. I can't say the same, though, about Jared Butler only playing 5 minutes. Jeff Doughton got the playing time over him, and Doughton has been playing good. I don't understand why Nurse hasn't been trying to put another ball handler next to Tyrese Maxey for pretty much as long as the entire season. But yeah, Jeff Doughton has apparently surpassed Jared Butler in the Nick Nurse pecking order, which continues to just boggle my mind. Like, Daryl Morey used draft capital to get Jared Butler in an effort to improve the roster, yet Nick Nurse has banished him to the shadow realm, not giving him any run whatsoever, even though Butler has been decent in the minutes he was getting with the Sixers. Nothing mind-blowing or anything, but has shown to be a decent ball handler and a backup point guard for the future if he develops. And it reminds me to a lesser extent of how Morey tried to help out Doc Rivers with the issues of depth by getting Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey, 2 players to win now type of players. Isaiah Joe was good when he was on the Sixers back then, when in the minutes that he was getting, at least showed signs of being a decent role player. And Charles Bassey was just a big, strong center that could rebound and be athletic and actually jump over a credit card. He hasn't been getting much run with the Spurs, but would have been a much better option than all the backup centers the Sixers had throughout the Joel Embiid era, like Dwayne Dedmon and who else? DeAndre Jordan. If you remember the DeAndre Jordan minutes he was getting in the playoffs and you still watch the 76ers, you really are a true fan. But yeah, the Sixers could have used those players, but Doc Rivers was like, nah, anybody that is not over the age of 36 is not getting any playing time. He also sent them to the end of the bench, and now look where Isaiah Joe is. But yeah, I kind of see a similar thing with how Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse seem to have this sort of disconnect with the trade acquisitions that Daryl Morey is swinging for, but how Nick Nurse is actually using the guys on the roster. But yeah, I mean, Adem Bona as well was finally getting some playing time too. Had a nice and one, and I think Bona can really be the next backup center for the Sixers if Andre Drummond declines his player option, does not come back for next year. Adem Bona definitely has the tools to be a decent backup center, just needs to get rid of his fouling issue. He's kind of like a more extreme Paul Reed in a way. They're both similar players in that both Adem Bona and Paul Reed will give you just pure chaos on the court. You don't know what to expect out of them on a night-to-night basis. Adem Bona has had some great moments with the Sixers, whether it's getting a bunch of chase down blocks or nights with over 10 rebounds or some good alley-oops. Bona has shown to be a great backup center for the Sixers in the future. But I feel like with Paul Reed and him, just when comparing the two, Adem Bona is definitely more prone to having consecutive fouls. Paul Reed did have a fouling problem that he still has yet to fix. But if Bona can just tighten up on those fouls, be more disciplined on the defensive end, and continue to be just a rim-running beast that uses all that his athleticism to crash the boards and help the Sixers finally solve their rebounding problem, then I will be really happy with Adem Bona as the even starting center with the team if he develops enough, and he can work really well next to Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain in the future in establishing a more fast-paced brand of Sixers basketball. That's at least what I hope will happen. But before we head out, I do want to give some news on the Sixers tank in general and how they're doing compared to the other teams in the league. So the Toronto Raptors just had a good win against the Orlando Magic. They play them again, and the Magic have an opportunity to take revenge, but the Raptors will be playing the Utah Jazz and Washington Wizards twice after their matchup with Orlando, and that includes a matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that is not very good and is just one of the many teams the Raptors will be playing since they have one of the easier schedules in the league. So if the Raptors can take advantage of their schedule, win some games, go on a winning streak, and if that correlates with the Sixers losing some more games, they do play the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Boston Celtics, and they do have a matchup against the Jazz too. If the Sixers can keep losing these games and the Raptors can keep winning, then that will really shake things up in the tanking battles. We do also have the Brooklyn Nets, who do not have as easy of a schedule as the Toronto Raptors, but who knows with them, maybe they can go on a winning streak too, as they did at times during the season. And if the Sixers can just keep losing, man, if they can at least get that 6th spot in the leaderboard, I will be satisfied, because I was just spinning Tankathon a bunch. And in the times where they were at the 6th spot, they were getting the top 6 pick or even higher, more frequently than if they were the 7th, where with the 7th, they could barely even make it in the top 6. Just with how the odds are distributed, I really hope that the Sixers end up getting a good lottery position, because we have had to suffer so much this entire year, and only to come out of it empty-handed would really suck. But that's pretty much all I got. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you stay stuck around long enough. I appreciate all of the support. Peace.